Good evening. I thought I'd jump in my cosy little hotel in Grafton here, and just have a bit of a chat about I guess you'd call it a meme or an image I put up earlier, saying that someone's suggesting having another vote for the voice. So yeah, I thought I'd go into a little bit more detail about that. As everyone remembers, we had one of those referendum. I don't remember how many years ago, but I'm going to say it was a few. Maybe pre-COVID or something. I'm not quite sure, but it didn't make it through anyway. There was a big push from it, or push for it from one side, and there was a push against it from the other. Generally, that was left and right, respectively. It didn't make it through, so I guess that means there's more righties than lefties or something, or there was, or I don't know, I don't really know what that means. But what I wanted to talk about is, I think part of the reason it didn't make it through back then, that there was an understanding and a push from a particular side that said that the Indigenous themselves didn't support it. I don't know whether that was just right-wing propaganda or whatever you want to call it. But it was definitely something that was going around. I think it's something that changed a lot of people's minds about it. Initially, when it first kind of started, a lot of people were really for it, and then there were actually some Indigenous leaders that did come out and say that they weren't for it. I think it was because it basically wasn't giving them the voice that everyone was being led to believe that it would, that the whole voice would actually be coming from or controlled by non-Indigenous Australians. I might be muddling this up. I'm just going off what I remember. I've done absolutely zero research. It's just something that popped up that I thought I'd have a conversation. A lot of people are completely against it because they believe it divides the country. And it did divide the country, almost straight down the middle. I think it was, or maybe it was about 60% or something that voted against it. But all that, let's say, propaganda aside, or whatever it was, saying that the Indigenous themselves didn't support it. What about the idea of putting a vote out to the Indigenous about it first? So if we're going to give the Indigenous a voice that we are saying we're going to give them, why don't we let them vote whether or not they want the voice in the form that it was going to be given to them, or is going to be given to them if it was successful. Now, how you go about that, I've just got to push something, some kind of low power mode, we'll get rid of that. Yeah, so how would we go about that voting system? So you let the Indigenous vote whether or not they want the voice. I guess even how they want it, how they want that to look. How do you go about getting those votes in? Are all Indigenous people registered to vote? I hope so, because their voice does count in that regard. Well, their voice counts all the time, everyone's voice counts. But I guess this idea would bring about some troubles as well, because the Aboriginal population is a fairly small percentage of the Australian population. I don't have that exact figure I do no research when I do these things. I just get on here and talk about it. But how would you go about singling out that small percentage of the population? And does that vote then extend to people who aren't purely Indigenous? And yes, I'm not retarded. I do understand that the Aboriginal or the Indigenous bloodlines have been muddled up over the years due to some atrocities of the past, let's say atrocities. Some of the bloodlines have been mixed because people wanted to mix too. So there's going to be a mix of both. So where do you draw the line? Now I'm going to say a couple of words here that people won't like, but I'm going to say it because it's going to come up in this conversation. Do the mixed, or as some people will say, half-caste, get a vote on this as well? Or is it just the full-blooded Indigenous? And if it was just the full-blooded Indigenous, would they then represent the whole or the entirety of the Indigenous population in Australia, whether mixed or not? And to go further, at what point would you draw the line to say, okay, you're, let's say, 1/16 Aboriginal, something like that, or less, and like friends of mine that are mixed, that you couldn't tell if you looked at them because they look very similar to me in skin tone, if not lighter. And they're probably not affected the way that some Indigenous people are. Because you couldn't exactly say to these people, or these people couldn't ever claim that white privilege has worked against them because you can't tell. So people like that, that as far as you and I can see, and most people will see, already benefit from white privilege, whatever that benefit is, if it even actually does exist. So how would that work out? A lot of questions in there, probably going to get called a racist again. Not my idea to have a vote on The Voice. I'm not about dividing people. Not saying 100% that it would. I believe, like I said, I believe everyone should have a voice. I think everyone does have a voice. Maybe more people need to speak up on both sides. But anyway, I've been talking for 8.5 minutes now. I usually try and keep these down to 3, but this is a long one. This is a long one. I'm interested in everyone's thoughts about the matter. Do you think that, step one, it's worth giving the Indigenous population a vote within the Indigenous population to decide if they want the voice before we decide to put it out to the rest of Australia if they want the voice? Because I think that's pretty important. We probably shouldn't try and give something to someone that they don't want, because that in itself is very counterproductive. Anyway, drop some comments below. I'll put a short version of this on Facebook and Instagram. I'll put the full version in YouTube. It'll be in the comments of the Facebook posts. But please go to YouTube, watch the full video, subscribe to me on YouTube. It costs you nothing. And while you're there, check out some of the other shit I talk here and there. So, yeah, have a good night, and cheers from Grafton. See yous.